Once again, another Gouda Gouda event comes, and with it comes a brand new welfare. Mysterious Ranmaru X? Wait, now we're getting space servants in Gouda Gouda? Oh no. Avenger X is an Arts NP servant with a rather high attack stat for a 4-star, but she has just okay HP stats. What isn't okay about her is her NP gain. It is one of the absolute worst in the game, being 1 point lower than Emiya Assassin of all servants. Surprisingly though, she actually isn't the worst when it comes to generating stars though. She has 2 hits on her arts, 4 hits on her quick, which generates quite a bit of stars, more than you would expect, 2 hits on her buster, and a 5 hit on her extra attack. Her first skill increases one ally's critical star absorption for 1 turn, increases their critical damage for 1 turn, and removes their debuffs. It's quite a hefty star absorption for 1 turn, and the crit damage you receive is 50%. It actually has a really low cooldown at 4 turns. Her second skill has a 40% chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn, as well as reduces their defense for 3 turns, and she gains 10 critical stars. Her third skill increases her arts performance for 3 turns, charges her own NP gauge, and gives her 10 critical stars. She can get up to 30% arts, as well as 20% NP charge depending on the level. Now we move on to her passives, and she has quite a number of handy ones here. She increases her own NP generation rate when being attacked by 16%, but she also reduces the party's debuff resistance. She has Oblivion Correction E, which increases her own critical strength by 2%. Ranmaru EX, which increases her own arts performance by 3%, as well as charges her own NP gauge by 3% every turn. Boy, is she gonna need that. Existence outside of the domain D, which gains her 2 critical stars every turn, which is a very, very nice passive. It also increases her debuff resistance by 4%. She has Magical Resistance C, which increases her own debuff resistance further by 15%. An Affection of the Demon King EX, which grants herself Burn debuff immunity, which could have some application to some challenge quests. Avenger X's Noble Phantasm is called Orchid Rounds X. It is an Arts NP that hits 4 times and is AoE, and it deals damage that ignores defensive buffs to all enemies, as well as increases her own critical star absorption rate for 1 turn. This is definitely the most important part of her, as you will be using it for neutral farming. As a free welfare servant, you will be able to get all of her ascension mats just by doing the event. And she also has a double EXP while the event is going, so you'll definitely be able to ascend her rather easily. When it comes to her skills, you will need 8 proofs of heroes, 8 bones, 10 chains, 10 teardrops. I had to actually look up the rest of these talent drops because I forgot their names, haha. 10 Kotan Magnatama. Then you will need 12 Dawnlight Reactor Cores. You will need 12 Hearts. And then lastly, you will need 12 Comet Shards. Avenger X has a lot going for her considering the fact that she is a free NP5 Avenger with an AoE Arts NP, which will dramatically increase the power of your account when it comes to neutral farming. Since she will be at NP5, her damage is going to be pretty high on that front as well. Her having a high attack stat also definitely helps with that. She is able to farm 3 waves with 3 enemies, and it doesn't just have to be with double Castoria. You can even use a support Castoria and your own Paracelsus, and it will work just fine, despite her horrible NP gain. However, when the enemy lineup is unorthodox, that is when you may struggle to loop with her, so you better hope you have an Oberon on backup. That is when her bad NP gain really bites. She's not the best farmer, as you will most likely have to swap out with your Mystic Code, but hey, it's just a few extra seconds, right? So her role as a farmer, especially for a free-to-play, is extremely valuable, as she will allow you to mostly farm any 3x3 nodes as long as there's no unusual number of enemies. When it comes to stuff outside of 3-turn farming, that is where she falls short. For one thing, her first skill is mostly to be used on herself, because as an Avenger, her star absorption will be pretty bad. However, it does have uses for removing other allies' debuffs, so it does have a bit of use in that regard. The crit damage up is nice as well. Her second skill is easily her weakest skill. The charm effect is so likely to miss, it's RNG against your favor. The defense down reduction can be useful if it hits, as bosses have a lot of debuff resistance. The 10 stars is not that useful without the use of her first skill, as her natural star absorption is super low, so you most likely will end up using both of these skills in one go. And this skill has a rather lengthy 6-turn cooldown, so it's not a point in her favor. Though thankfully, her first skill only has a 4-turn cooldown, so you can crit somewhat consistently. Her third skill is easily her best skill, increasing her arts, which she desperately needs, and gives herself a nice 20% MP charge. Oh, and an extra 10 stars, but that's more a slight bonus than anything. Unfortunately, again, her skill is on a lengthy 6-turn cooldown, which is way too harsh for what this skill is. So there are two major problems when it comes to Avenger X. First, her horrible NP gain, but thankfully Castoria's in the game, so she can help with that. Second, which Castoria can't help with, is her lengthy skill cooldown, as well as the fact that, other than the defense down and arts up skill, only lasts for 1 turn, so her skills are mostly one and done. She also has almost non-existent survivability skills, unless you count the charm, which I don't, because against servants, that's gonna miss most times. However, she really suffers against any type of boss where she doesn't have class advantage. If you are up against one of the rare rulers, sure, she will get the job done. But there are better servants to go against bosses that are of even lower rarity than her, including free-to-play servants. So I would only ever bring her up against ruler bosses. Or hey, you could be a mad lad, love this servant, and grail her to 120. It's your game. Do what you want. When it comes to CEs, you are desperately going to want to give her some combination of NP gain and arts up to help with her horrible NP gain. You can actually get away with running her with Black Grail with a double Castoria setup if you have another NP charger in your backline. When it comes to servants, Castoria is easily her best partner, but that goes without saying, because she'll buff her NP gain and arts damage, as well as give her survivability with her NP. Tamamo, I will also say, is great for reducing her skill cooldowns dramatically and aiding in her survivability and stalling. Paracelsus is actually a good alternative if you don't have your own Castoria for 3-turn farming. As long as you don't mind swapping out, any other NP chargers for 3-turn farming are good, like Oberon, Waver, Bride Umu, and so on. In conclusion, listen, Avenger X is incredibly valuable for underpowered accounts and free-to-plays that don't have their all-around looper for everything. Not all of us can afford to have double Vich, Oberon, and a NP3 Melusine. Even without double Castoria, she gets the job done for any free quest, as long as the enemies don't have too high HP. But in that instance, just give her a Black Grail. She can farm Assassins and Berserkers, just don't have her go against unorthodox number of enemies. However, her value is solely as a neutral loot farmer, and as an option against ruler bosses. Outside of that, she needs to be hard carried by other supports in order to even function against bosses. Would not recommend for bosses, but absolutely would recommend for farming. Get her. Seriously. The value of a neutral farmer for everything at NP5 and her being arts is seriously way too valuable. 7 out of 10. Hey, thanks for watching this far into the video. I really appreciate you for doing so. I haven't done a servant review in a long time, and I wanted to try out a different format this time because, well, I don't have this servant as of this video. I'm purely an NA player and can only watch others and analyze how they look. So with that said, are you okay with this format? Should I just have random gameplay when I am analyzing the servant, even if I don't have them? Honestly, it would let me get these videos out a lot easier and faster if that was the case. Hey, maybe consider leaving a like on the video. YouTube discovery on here is an absolute nightmare, so you would really be helping out. Leave a comment on what you thought of the video as well. It really means the world to me. Maybe consider subscribing and hitting that bell. And hey, if you want to see what I am up to, maybe check me out on my Discord server. I am trying to stream more of my stuff more often, and I may just be streaming the Gouda Gouda event sometime soon on both YouTube and my Twitch, twitch.tv/Empress Dawn. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye!